Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
And before we get into this week's episode, we're going to talk about a case, pretty tragic case. We wanted to remind you guys, Criminal Coffee merch available. If you want to check it out, get on over to criminalcoffeeco.com. I'm actually wearing the crew neck right now. This is an oatmeal. I think this is our most popular. I'm sorry, it's not. The Heather crew neck is our most popular, but this is the second most popular. And some of you were emailing me saying, hey, was it in stock? Almost everything other than, I think, like the 3XLs or 4XLs are in stock right now. And if it's not in stock, it'll say it right on the website, so there'll be no confusion there. We appreciate everyone who's already purchased merch from the store. And then, as always, other than the merch, you can always go and check out the coffee as well, because that's really what it's all about. I know some of you have asked about Preble Penny. All we can say, there's been a ton of development, and it's going to be a positive outcome when we can tell you. But unfortunately, we can't say anything right now, and I know that sucks, but there is some developments. They're positive developments, and you will hear about them eventually. But for those of you who are asking, I'm so glad you're still concerned about it. Let's just say you guys are making a difference. We'll say that, and that's all we're going to say at this point. But as far as Crime Weekly News, let's dive into it. I'm going to just tell you the quick thing. There's a family of 4 missing out in Illinois. They've been missing for over 2 months. And Stephanie was filling me in on this case before we started recording earlier today. Really fascinating case. It sounds like there might be more at play here, but I'm going to let Stephanie fill you in on that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because even after I got off the phone with you, I found out more stuff. So let's break it down a little bit. And I think it's important to talk about because as of now, what is this? Why does my phone not tell me the date anymore?
It's the 17th.
April 17th, Monday, April 17th, when we're recording this, this family of 4 is still missing. So it's kind of one of those things where this is active, this is ongoing. Are there lessons to be learned? Yes, but also there's things that can still be done by the general public, which is keep an eye out for these people wherever you live, because they could be anywhere at this point. So authorities are searching for an Illinois family of 4 who've been missing for 2 months. It's 44-year-old Stephen Lutz, his wife, 34-year-old Monica Lutz, and their 2 sons, 9-year-old Nicholas and 11-year-old Aiden. They were last seen at their Newton, Illinois home on February 10th. At this point, their cell phones have all been turned off. The children were homeschooled, so there's no public school attendance records to kind of figure out like when they stopped going to school. But I will say that a moving truck was spotted at the home on February 10th, and that moving truck was hooked up to Stephen Lutz's pickup truck. But when the police went into the house, they found everything there still, right? So all the furniture was left behind, all the clothing. There's an open suitcase found on the master bedroom bed. And Stephen also had an estranged daughter, a 20-year-old daughter named Brittany Lutz. Apparently, she just kind of does not speak to her father, Stephen, or her stepmother, Monica. She will if she has to, but she tries not to. But she does stay in contact with her younger half-brother, Aiden. And she said, quote, "They didn't take anything with them. All their clothes are still here. Toothbrushes, shampoo, conditioner, soap, it's all still here. They had brand new shoes that they didn't bring with them. They're homeschooled, but all their school books are still sitting on the table," end quote. The last time Brittany spoke to her little brother Aiden was February 10th. Aiden had texted her on February 10th claiming that he was on vacation, but he said he didn't know where. So Brittany basically texted Aiden and was like, hey, what are you up to? And he's like, on vacation, but I'm bored. And Brittany was like, bored? How are you bored? You're on vacation. And Aiden responded, quote, "There's nothing to do when we're not going somewhere. That and I'm usually playing video games, so that's another reason," end quote. Brittany also texted her father, Stephen, even though she doesn't talk to him, on February 14th when she hadn't heard from her brother Aiden in a couple of days. And I guess that she was like, hey, where are you? Where are the kids? Where's your wife? Etc. And Stephen Lutz told her he wasn't with his kids and his wife because he wasn't allowed to be around them. And this is because of some other things that have happened in the home. So initially, police said there's no evidence to suggest that the family was in any danger, but a recent press release from the Newton Police Department has revealed that the police have responded to reports of domestic abuse at the Lutz home. And Stephen Lutz himself made a virtual court appearance on January 19th for domestic battery charges charges. He was bonded out for those charges, but he was told to stay away from his wife, Monica. His pretrial hearing was supposed to be on March 28th, but he did not show up for that. And now authorities have issued a warrant for his arrest. But Stephen also has like a very checkered past. Okay. He has many other charges. Many of them are related to domestic violence. The earliest is from 1996. He also has a history of addiction, and he was sentenced to 30 months of probation in 2006 for possession of meth. And his daughter, Brittany, the 20-year-old who he's estranged from, she says that even though she doesn't talk to him, Stephen, she'll sometimes see him around town, and she believes that he's using meth again based on what he looks like and his behavior and things like that. And most recently in 2020, Stephen Lutz was charged with soliciting a minor. And this is what actually triggered his daughter, Brittany, to cut ties with him, because she has a young daughter and she didn't want her daughter to be around this person. Brittany Lutz said, quote, "My dad has always been odd. He's just a weird person anyway, but I just couldn't imagine that he would hurt his children. But I mean, with everything I now know, I have no idea. I have no idea what he would do." And Brittany says she remembers times from her childhood where her dad would tell her that a rubber clown mask with a red mohawk that he kept hidden in a closet was going to kill them all. And apparently Stephen Lutz has this collection of decorative masks. And at first when I read this story, I was like, that's not weird. Some people like to collect stuff. Like maybe he's a horror movie fan or something. But then I read in another article that reportedly days before he disappeared, Aiden Lutz, who's one of the sons of Stephen, he told his grandmother and his sister Brittany that he'd walked in on his father twice. He walked in on his father talking to a clown mask in his bedroom. And apparently Stephen Lutz was telling this clown mask that he needed to kill 3 people. And the grandmother actually said that, according to Aiden, Stephen Lutz said verbatim, quote, "I know what I have to do. I have to kill 3 people. I have to kill my wife first, then Aiden, then Nicholas." End quote. So yeah, this is pretty crazy what's going on here. It doesn't look good. I do want to give a few details about the vehicle that they were last known to be driving in, which is a blue 2005 Ford F-150 pickup truck with an Illinois license plate, which is 307-851-2B. And anyone with information on the whereabouts of this family should call the Newton Police at 618-783-8478. I'll give that information again at the bottom of the video before we sign off. But as of now, it's not looking good. I think it's weird that they had a moving van there on February 10th, but didn't apparently take anything. So I was initially concerned when I was talking to you on the phone. I was like, I definitely think that Stephen Lutz killed his family and put them in the moving van and then drove away. But now to hear that Brittany spoke to her half-brother Aiden on February 10th and he told her they were somewhere on vacation and that he was bored, that's kind of changing things a little bit. So I hope that these people are still alive. I hope that Monica and Aiden and Nicholas are still alive and okay, but it just seems sketchy.
Yeah, it definitely seems sketchy. And the fact that all their phones are off aren't good either. But yeah, I'm with you. And I think something you said at the top of the show is important, where with Crime Weekly News, we will have cases where there's lessons to be learned because it's kind of an arc where we know the story, we know how it ends. And we can look at the tragedies and say, okay, how can we benefit from this and take this to our families and use it to better protect ourselves? Well, this is another venue, another vehicle we can use or basically create with Crime Weekly News, where we're using it to get out information for cases that may be a little bit more obscure, cases where you can still help. Like the story hasn't been written yet. Hopefully, like Stephanie said, there's a potential that they're still alive, and maybe they don't realize what's going on and what's going to happen. So if we can at least find this vehicle, identify it, law enforcement can come in and check it out and check the well-being of the entire family and see if they're okay. On the surface, I don't think I'm saying anything that's completely out of left field. Doesn't sound good. We see how these cases play out over and over again. So hopefully this is an outlier and they are still alive and they're out there somewhere and just kind of off the radar right now. And that's why here we get a lot of people that watch these videos. Hopefully one of you out there specifically in that area, maybe they're still in Illinois, will be familiar with this and can spot this vehicle and make a call, and maybe we have a happy ending to the story, but we'll have to just wait and see. But at minimum, we're putting it out there so you guys know about it. And you never know, it might be a stupid YouTube video that helps find this family and get some answers.
I mean, they could be anywhere. And that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't want to be I don't want to make like broad generalizations, but if you kind of look at the family, the kids are homeschooled. Listen, I have nothing against people who homeschool their kids. I've considered it myself many times.
Especially now.
However, I will say that there's some times where families homeschool their children because they're very like isolationist and they very much want to like seal themselves off from the outside world, and they start to become more kind of like walled off in a unit of their own and kind of out of touch with reality and out of touch with the outside world. So this could be a thing where this could be a kidnapping of sorts, right? Because Stephen had to go to court for this appearance for domestic battery. He's got a history of domestic battery as well as meth use. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't care anyone who's out there who's like, don't stigmatize drug use. I'm not. I'm stigmatizing meth use. It's a different animal. Okay. Meth will change your complete personality. It will make you turn on your loved ones. It will make you destroy everything you once held dear. It's not your normal run of the mill drug. So we got meth use, maybe a history of some like emotional and mental instability. And then you've got this like domestic battery charge that he could be running away from. And he could have just like grabbed his wife and his kids and said, we're going. And now he's holding them somewhere and not letting them leave. So we could have a hostage situation here, right? Or we could have a situation of two parents who are like, let's get the hell away from this government and the society that's trying to keep us apart, and they're bringing the kids along. Either way, I guarantee you those kids don't want to be there. Either way, I guarantee you those kids don't have a choice, and hopefully they're safe. But these people could be anywhere. So because you're watching on YouTube, this is not audio. It's YouTube only. Look at their pictures. Look at their faces. When you especially if you're in out of the way areas, when you go to gas stations or convenience stores or stuff like that, keep a lookout for their vehicle. Keep a lookout for them. And if you see something, say something. Once again, I will give you that information. If you see these people, the Lutz family, call the Newton Police at 618-783-8478. The last known vehicle they were known to be driving is a blue 2005 Ford F-150 pickup truck with an Illinois license plate of 307851-2B.
Yeah, and that could be in the Illinois area and maybe outside of that. They could be anywhere. So if you're thinking, oh, you know what, I'm not from that area, so I can't really help, you never know. They could be in Maine for all we know by now, and you could be driving along and happen to see something kind of like, if you think about it, kind of like the laundry case where you had this Gabby Petito situation where they're looking for her, they're looking for him, and it was a series of things where people were just driving through that area, happened to see the vehicle, the description of the vehicle, and then they see it, and that's how they ultimately found Gabby. It wasn't because of good law enforcement, police work. It was more so community members, actually, I think a YouTuber, right, who was filming their adventure.
Oh yeah, the Red, White, and Bethune.
Yeah, they were a pivotal reason why this case was solved, and also why they were able to make somewhat of a timeline. So you just never know. You really just never know. And so it's important that we stay cognizant of our surroundings, and obviously we want to learn from tragedy, but we also want to try to prevent it. Maybe this is one of those situations. So we're wishing the best for the family. Hopefully this one ends up with a happy ending, and there's some good stuff to report back. Speaking of reporting back, last week on Crime Weekly News, we talked about the murder of Bob Lee. He was the founder of Cash App, a billionaire, and we had talked about some of the things that were out there. Stephanie, stop me if I'm wrong, but essentially they had him on video a little bit walking up to a car. He had already been stabbed to death. The car kind of drives off.
He'd been stabbed, but not to death at that point.
Not at that point. He was still living, but ultimately died, succumbed to his wounds. And we talked about what might have happened. Could it have been a robbery with all the crime in San Francisco right now? And then literally the next morning, I believe it was April 4th, they made an arrest. And I have the name right here. The person who was arrested is a Namia Momeni. Does that sound about right? Namia Momeni.
You're asking the wrong person.
Sounds like that's the name. So this was an arrest. This is a man who apparently was in the IT field. He might have even had a relationship with Bob prior to this. From what I had read briefly, it looks like there might be, I don't know if it's footage or however they got to this information, but essentially they learned that apparently Nima and Bob were in a vehicle at some point. There might have been an altercation, and during that altercation, Bob was stabbed, and then he exited the vehicle and was trying to find help. Now, this is the first time we had heard about a potential vehicle. That may be because it had developed more recently, and law enforcement just kept it close to the chest. But this does kind of answer some of the questions we had as far as like, okay, how does this happen? This guy's a multi-billionaire. He's walking down the road. Nothing was taken from him. So you would think robbery at first, but he still had his wallet. He still had his, all his property on him. So
which we didn't know at the time.
At the time. So it's one of those things where you're looking at it and you're thinking, man, could this have been a cover up? Could this have been something where it was a targeted attack where, he had some enemies out there that we weren't aware of? And how is this going to unfold? Well, now we're starting to get some answers, and it looks like they got an arrest warrant for him. He was arrested. And so we just got to wait for it to go to trial. But there is some specifics about the case as well, if you guys want to look that up. We just didn't want to leave you hanging as far as, updating you, because as of last week, we really didn't know what happened to Bob.
Damn. And I was reading something today where there was reports coming out just a few hours ago saying that Bob had been at his attacker's sister's house a few hours before he was attacked. So who knows what's going on with that? I think they're definitely keeping it a little bit closer to the chest, like the details and the information, because he's a public figure, because he was, somebody who was recognizable and not just an average person like you and me. They would give all the details for that. But because it's Bob Lee, they're keeping things very concealed. And if this even goes to trial, this guy, his attacker, might just be like, you got me dead to rights, and plead guilty, and we'll never find out. But either way, we now know it doesn't appear to be a random act of violence, as insofar as this wasn't a robbery. He wasn't just attacked by somebody on the street. He was attacked by somebody he knew. So we would assume there's some deeper motive there, some more personal motive.
Mm-hmm. And law enforcement, all they're really saying right now is the two were familiar with each other. Mm-hmm. The good news for the investigation itself is near the vehicle, near where this altercation occurred. Allegedly, they recovered the knife potentially involved in this murder, in this attack. So that's going to obviously help for, the reasons that we would mostly assume. Hopefully, there's some DNA on there. It'll connect the two, and they can use it to build a case. And I'm sure as time goes on, they'll come out with more details, but it might not be until we get to a trial. Because at this point, if they have a person in custody, they really don't need help from the public. There's really no incentive to share much more than they already have.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, I agree.
We'll see how it goes. Final thing, new background. So I want to hear from you guys. You guys weighed in last week. I'm in the new studio now. There's a lot of work to do. This is the worst the background will ever be, because I just kind of
I think it looks so good.
It doesn't look bad, but I think
it looks so cool, man.
I'm more concerned about just making sure the video is good, the audio is good. So just like last week when you guys helped me out, same thing here. Let me know if the video is good, the audio is good. It looks good on my end when I'm listening to it. Last week, you guys basically, the consensus was I was crazy. My audio was fine, which is, by the way, a win for me that the audio was good for you guys, because I was really nervous about that. But let me know what you guys think this week.
I guess none of us are audiophiles.
If we're being technical, there were people who are like, I hear the difference. But overall, I was happy to hear that most people...
They just said that so you would think they were an audiophile.
Or you were just offended that you may not be an audiophile and therefore had to prove that it wasn't you.
I'm an audiophile.
I'm sure. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. You're everything.
These little ears, man... They're little, but they're mighty.
Yes, totally. So I do want to hear, truly, I do want to make sure that it's good. I think it is. I'm actually working on, and this might be a little thing, when I recorded at my home studio, I had to have the mic right up to my face. That would cancel out a lot of the audio, but then the mic would block my face. Where Stephanie's in a recording booth, if you notice, she's always been able to keep the microphone 6-8 inches away from her face, and it sounds just as good, if not better. Where for me, I always had to be like this. So if you can, I'm going to try to keep it a little bit further away, and hopefully it's similar to Stephanie's, but we'll see. We'll go from there. Stephanie needs one big joke, but Stephanie has a hard time getting her computer stuff to work each week. It's like a 20-minute process every week to make sure we have something. Also, Stephanie said I'm crazy.
Why do you hate me?
Stephanie said I'm crazy that some of you are saying the video's blurry on her end. I think her video looks pretty good. We stream over the internet, so I really want to hear. I think she looks pretty clear on my end, but this is also just streaming. It's not the final video. So weigh in the comments below. We're always open to improving the episodes, but also the quality of the episodes. That's why I got the studio now.
There's nothing I can do to make it better. So
it might be just.
I think it looks great.
You, again, always do. It may be something as minor as, if you remember, and this might be more off the record, but you guys get a little behind the scenes right now. with your lens, we're not on autofocus anymore because of the cam link we use. So it might be with me sometimes I just have to spin the lens a little bit to adjust because of where you're standing.
Let me spin the lens.
But we'll see. We'll see what you guys say. Maybe she sounds good. Maybe she looks good right now. Either way, even if she doesn't, she's probably going to say it's fine. It looks great to me, so we're good.
Yo,
I'm happy.
so crispy. I'm looking at it right now. So crispy. Like I
think
can
it looks pretty
see
good.
all the little pieces of my hair coming off because and I need to wash it.
No, but I think it looks, honestly, I would tell you, I think it looks good too. So weigh in the comments
you
below.
would.
Obviously, you know, the number one thing here is what we talked about earlier, this family trying to identify the license plate. You already have the information there. Hopefully someone can find these individuals and find them in good shape, alive and well. The Bob Lee update has been out there. And as always, we just appreciate you guys coming back. Like, comment, subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on. This is a YouTube exclusive, and we do mostly drop it on Wednesdays, but there are sometimes based on YouTube and when they approve the episodes, it could be Tuesday, it could be Thursday. So notifications is the best option because when it drops, you'll be the first to know. Final words to you, Stephanie.
Thank you for being here, and make sure you hit like, and make sure you comment, and make sure you subscribe, and make sure you follow us on social media, and make sure you try our coffee, Criminal Coffee Company. Amazing. So good. It's criminal. And yeah, all our
Update
social
soon.
media tags are in the
Update
description.
soon about
box.
Preble, for sure. Hopefully. We're kind of,
Yes.
we want to tell you.
It was like nothing was happening, and then everything was happening. So
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
And we don't want to get in trouble because the people behind it are definitely watching these episodes, and we want to continue that relationship. So the last thing we want to do is put something out there that wasn't intended to be put out yet. And, you know, we don't work with them in the future. So we'll keep
I
it close.
live for getting in trouble.
Huh? Yeah,
I
you really
live
do.
for it.
You really do. But I can promise you guys you'll be happy. Just wait. It'll be worth it. As always, stay safe out there. We will see you next week.
Bye.